Hello everyone, I am Asmita Vagmare
And I'm Priya Chaku.
and we welcome you all to a new episode of Alumni Talks on behalf of the Alumni Relations Committee of TAPMI. Today we have with us esteemed alumni from Perfetti Van Melle, Mr. Nikhil Sharma, who is the Managing Director, Mr. Karan Budhiraj, who is the Group Product Manager, and Ms. Pragati Nagpal, who is the National Key Account Manager. Thank you so much everyone for joining us today. So before we begin, I just want to know your thoughts, how you're feeling today.
I feel honored to be here for a specific function, and it's great to be back in TAPMI. This is not my campus, but I've come here for many times for summer recruitment, so I still have some memories of this campus, and it's great to be amongst all of you.
So you graduated from TAPMI 25 years ago. You joined Perfetti back then. Today you're spearheading India as the Managing Director in the same company. This is a truly remarkable silver jubilee in your career. So I'm sure this must be a very proud and nostalgic moment for you. So would you like to share some thoughts with the audience?
Well, I'm so much in the moment, honestly, that it's one assignment after the other. I was telling a group of professors earlier that I was managing the business in Vietnam. The return to India makes it that much more special because that's where you started your career. So it didn't hit me until the time the LinkedIn kind of exploded when the announcement came. And then lots of people reached out. So yeah, I think the weight of what happened possibly is not so much with me. For me, it's just an assignment. But it's great to be back in India, and I understand the fact that now Perfetti is a large FMCG company, and we're market leaders. So there's a great sense of responsibility also by taking on this role, and there's a great sense of pride.
Speaking of nostalgia, are there any specific memories or lessons that you would like to share that you gained from TAPMI and you carry with you till today?
There are so many of them, it's difficult to kind of summarize them in one space. I think TAPMI prepares you for what's to come. And so many of the things that you learn in TAPMI, you kind of reframe in your professional life. Obviously, you cannot apply the theory simply by taking it from one space to the other. But the learning is agnostic of the situations. So many times, deadline meeting, for example, or making optimal choices on what you do with your time is stuff that you learn in B school and then you kind of go and apply going forward. One of the greatest gifts which TAPMI gave you is the ability to choose a summer internship, which I really liked. And some of us get to make a choice where they do internships where the bug kind of bites them, and some of you will come back and say, "Okay, that was not for me." I think either scenario is a good one to have. I was lucky with the former, and therefore I chose a career in sales and marketing in an FMCG space, which is not for everyone. It sounds pretty glamorous, but it is not when you're standing in the heat in front of a retailer trying to sell a jar of confectionery. It does take the mickey out of you at that point in time. But if you stay with it, there's the thing which will happen. And that's a learning which is not specific to FMCG. It can be at any part of your career and you can take it forward. And that's the grounding in TAPMI which is really relevant for me in my personal journey.
Karan, so Pragati, do you have any points to add?
Yeah, so for me, I think honestly, a great trip down the memory lane. This was the campus where I studied. I think this campus came in around 2008 or 9, and I joined in 2010. This campus was quite different back then, though still as beautiful as it was back then. But I think it's a great trip down the memory lane. There are a lot of nostalgic moments that I'm going through as we speak. So thanks to you guys, thanks to Nikhil, thanks to the professors here who got us down for 2 days here. For me, I think a couple of things that stood out in those 2 years and how those have helped me as well. I think one of the points that Nikhil also alluded to, you make the most out of your summer internship. I think that's where I got exposed to a lot of new things in life. I got an understanding what I really want to make out of my career, and that's how I approached my placement season as well around that time. Right, so an FMCG kind of a sales stint really grounds you to get to the ground reality and be more appreciative of the fact how business is run at a ground level and how you really sort of capitalize on that and make a career out of it eventually. I think that's a great learning that I had, and I think the kind of rigor that TAPMI puts on table, which is well known across It's something that helps all of us. The sense of ownership, meeting deadlines, the sense of accountability that it instills in you. I think those are skills that you carry on with you forever. And honestly, I believe those are skills which are much more valuable than a lot of functional skills, because you can always pick those up otherwise as well.
You don't feel like that just now. Eventually it helps.
Yes.
Yeah, so TAPMI, along with the other qualities that they mentioned, TAPMI has always instilled the power of being everywhere on time. So I think that's the first lesson that you learn when you come to TAPMI, and they always teach you for a 9:15 class, you should be in class by 9:10. That was our principle, and I think that becomes a guiding principle when you start working in a corporate as well. So that has stuck by me, along with the other things that they have learned. And another thing I learned was, do not mess with water when it's raining, because I broke my leg, Karan broke his leg, a lot of people broke their legs. So
I broke my leg figuratively here, not literally.
pretty much that.
Nikhil sir,
Yeah.
do you have any leadership philosophies that you follow throughout your career and that have sort of helped you manage confectionery giants like Perfetti?
Leadership is a kind of evolving phenomenon. There's enough and more literature on leadership for me to now sit and expound on my leadership qualities. I think one of the things which we have kind of evolved after COVID on leadership is being compassionate to a group of people. It's there's less work in this space, but it's really important now. I can say as one of my key jobs now, apart from obviously managing the P&L, is the fact that there's a sense of compassion about how to deal with employees and their challenges. We're fast realizing after COVID that people are coming to work and there's a whole lot of baggage they carry. And if we can help in an organization to kind of set the context where they feel a little more relieved about what's happening at home, and they have a sense of flexibility in the way they do things. Yeah? And I don't confuse flexibility for work from home. That's not my intention at all. But just that people who come to work at Perfetti have a sense that we've got their back. I think that's a big shift in the way we looked at things. And I was in Vietnam and COVID hit. Were extremely challenging circumstances. As a confectionery head, all we were doing was coordinating logistics for oxygen and so on and so forth. It was not part of the job description. There was no training manual at the time. What emerged from there was this whole facet of leadership, which was important, and I think many leaders will now kind of build on that going forward.
Karan, so the next question is to you. You're in a product management role, so you want to know what is your experience in that, and what skills, according to you, are important to excel in a role like this.
See, I think honestly, the way I look at this role is I have grown in this role over time, honestly in different organizations as well. Currently, the role I handle is of group product manager, where I take care of the entire cherry category. So for me, what is important is how do I look at growing the category, because we are the market leaders, and every brand, every category in this company has a certain role to play. The role that the brands that I handle, the role that those brands have to play is of growing the category, making the category much more relevant to users, because we are the pioneers of innovation. Whatever we set ourselves for is something that consumers are going to adopt to, right? And when we say that we have to make the category relevant for people, go to more number of users, that is in terms of all the activities that we do, be it in terms of the innovation that we do, be it in terms of the marketing campaigns that we do. All of this has to speak together to come together and work towards increasing penetration and making the category much more relevant for users. Some of the important skills that I think are relevant when it comes to this kind of a role is that you really need to have the vision for the next 6 months to the next 3 years, right? Because it's very important what you do here and now. Plus, having a certain vision for 3 years is something that will guide you for all the activities that you're going to set yourself for. I think having that vision is very important. Apart from that, be in touch with the current ecosystem that you're operating in, be it in terms of media, be it in terms of consumer trends. For any consumer marketer, I think there's a certain reason that we place the word consumer before marketing. Right? You really need to get the pulse of consumers, what they're liking, what they're not liking. And whatever we do, we test it with them first. So have the pulse of consumers in every aspect, so that you have a winning proposition.
My next question is to Pragati ma'am. Ma'am, what are the key strategies that you have in mind when you're looking at building strong relationships with key accounts that you handle? I'm sure relationship building is a major part that comes into picture. So could you throw some light on that?
It's the heart of the job that I do. If I do not have healthy relations with the person that I deal with on the other side of the table, things will never work out in the way they do right now. So what we try to do is not just go to them with what we want to do, but also understand what they want to do for the category and for the brand that we are. So it's always a collaborative effort. The moment we derail from this phenomenon, things go haywire. So that's principally the thing that I keep in mind while dealing with them. Address their problems and then find a win-win for both of you. Come to a mutual ground so that it's beneficial for the both partners too, and it's a sustainable relationship thereafter. So that's at the heart of the job that I do.
So, Nikhil sir, we'd like to know what are some of the key milestones during the entire career path that help you reach where you are today?
Well, I started my career in sales, and that's where all marketers get grounding in an FMCG setup. Of course, you can have a career. Many people move straight into marketing. There's nothing wrong either which way. But sales kind of gives you a grounding and an empathy to the whole system which you're driving as a marketer. And we're not only about making advertising, as I discussed in my talk. It's so much more to marketing than only just what people see. One of the assignments which I really wanted was the head of marketing role for India. It was the only kind of role I aspired for when I was in marketing, right? General management is great and so on and so forth. So that I think would be possibly one of the biggest milestones for me when I made the head of marketing. Because we were a really strong marketing organization at the time. And it was a very coveted role. Of course, following that, the general management assignments followed in the Philippines first, and it was a time when the business in the Philippines was under pressure. So it was good to turn around the business and learn the back to work kind of, let's say, strategy decisions you wouldn't take in happy days. You take when you're back to the work and you have nothing to lose, right? And that really builds resilience and failure. Sometimes generates the best ideas in people. Yeah. You kind of figure out what else can go wrong, right? So that stint in the Philippines where we were struggling and we recovered and we did well was fabulous. And I think I alluded to the fact that I was in Vietnam and COVID had hit. It was a completely different kind of ball game in terms of managing a big business and a big factory with complex in a foreign land which doesn't speak the language you used to speak to. So it was in the true sense of the word management, because remember that when you're working in India, you have a view on everything. Research is telling you X, but because you understand, you have a view on Y. When you work abroad, and when research tells you X, you simply cannot interpret Vietnamese to think any other way. So you go with what you have, and then decision making is its purest form, and you learn how to adapt. And a lot of that learning is therefore relevant when you come back from international assignments. That's why lots of people send their managers abroad to give them an international perspective on things. And it really then helps you kind of make decisions in India which will lead us into the future, or will have an understanding of the bigger picture at the corporate level. All of this is kind of shaped the manager that I am now. Many of these milestones are professional. There's many personal milestones which obviously shape you as well. One of them is the fact that my daughter was finishing her grade 12 when I was leaving for Vietnam, so I had to leave family behind and spend a year by myself. So many of the opinions I have formed on split families is because of that. I wouldn't advise it to anybody. And I recommend people to, when they're together, to be together and not make career choices when they kind of split up. Lots of people will say, okay, family reasons, X, Y, Z, but if your work life is a continuity, then it's difficult to justify, because something will suffer at some point in time. So those decisions have also kind of shaped the people, the kind of person that I am. And it's important to also bring that out. It's not only about professional milestones.
Karan, so what are the emerging trends and challenges that you see in the confectionery industry when we talk about the Indian context? And what is Perfetti doing to continuously innovate themselves in this space and to kind of stay ahead of these curves?
Great question. I think a very, very pertinent question that you have put on the table, which all of us are trying to find answers to honestly back in office. But I'll maybe put a couple of points on the table and Nikhil can add on from this perspective as well. I think one of the most critical challenges that we are facing is, see, the space and retail is limited, right? You can only put as many SKUs in a retail shelf, right? And Perfetti has a wide segment of offerings across different categories. So I think one of the biggest challenges is how do we solve for that? There's of course a journey to that we've started. There's a lot of RE segmentation, which is the retail environment segmentation that we've started doing. How do we place different kinds of products at different prices in different kinds of outlets? I think that's a journey that Perfetti has already started. A lot of other companies which are ahead in terms of their pack price architecture are already ahead in that journey because they have those different kinds of price points and they can do that level of clearing. But like I said in my session as well, over the last few years, Perfetti has really accelerated its journey on higher price points. Now that is what is enabling us to sort of do a certain level of RE segmentation to solve for this challenge. But I would still say it is a challenge at this point in time. The second point I would say is how do you continue to be relevant for users in today's day and age with a media ecosystem which is extremely cluttered, with attention spans which are going down. How do you make your creative stand out as much as possible as it was earlier? I think that's a big challenge that marketers face in today's day and age. For example, in Nikhil's time, maybe media ecosystem might not have been as cluttered as it is today. So that's a challenge at least we see a lot of new brand managers are facing. So how do you sort of overcome those challenges, work with your media agencies to find the best ROI and work out those kind of solutions?
Yeah, it's a multifaceted question with really a wide range of answers. There's the marketing lens, there's a whole production and a back-end lens also to manage costs, manage efficiencies. There's a whole SNOP process, IDP, which you guys call now, basically planning in an integrated way so that it's efficient. We're not spending time on firefighting at all times and decisions are taken in a smooth, seamless manner. There's a lot of work happening in that space. It's not always about more sales, it's also about efficiently selling. So lots of organizations are now figuring out ways to optimize supply chain and so on and so forth.
So my next question is for you, ma'am. What are your thoughts on the challenges and opportunities for women in the sales and marketing sector for FMCG sector essentially?
Okay, thanks for bringing this question. I was expecting. So I think gone are the days when FMCG and women did not go hand in hand. Okay, earlier we used to think, GT sales, it's not for women, but in Perfetti we do have GT sales managers who are doing exceptionally well. One of them was on the campus today. So it's not difficult, it's just that we also sometimes have to find the middle ground. We don't have to always be on the complaining side. Sure, complain about things that are very essential, but if you use that as a mechanism to sort of not work, then things go down the drain. Right. So that is my philosophy, because I have spent time in GT back in my ITC days. Although those were not, I spent like 5 to 6 odd months, and I had my share of hardships. But the idea was to voice them out so that gets solved there and I can move forward with it. Similarly, in my MT stint and now in e-commerce. So it's doable when you are in conjunction with your company, and if you don't pay your bills.
Nikhil, so what is your vision for Perfetti's future in the Indian market, and what are some of the opportunities that you foresee?
We are undisputed market leaders now, and I hope that we can consolidate that position. We're 30% share. I hope we can get to 50%. Our parent company in Italy is at 95% share or more. So if you look at an ambition, there's a huge revenue for us, and that's where we would like to be. We're also working on our sustainability initiatives. We're working on a lot of products which are on the spectrum of health better. As a responsible organization, we would like to innovate more and more in that space. We hope that the next time we have this conversation, there is much more on the table that we have now in that space. Less sugar, more sustainable innovation, and so on. Those would be my top two. Diversity and inclusion and belonging.
Yes.
We will also, so we're working very hard to improve both in the sales side as well. And that's why this time when we come for summer, there's a mandate where every campus we're going to, where 50% or more has to be women. It's something which we've started, and I hope that we can make it work.
This last question is to everyone. What is some advice that you would like to give to the current TAPMI students so that they can become future business leaders?
Pick up the problems that exist at the moment in terms of competitions. So when I was doing MBA in the second year, we were a COVID batch. We had a lot of time outside of the regular curriculum, which we could invest in competition. So I participated in a multitude of competitions in different sort of genres. Okay, I think that really shaped the way I started thinking about work and the problems at hand. So my strong advice is please participate in competitions, take up live projects, whatever they are. You have grand scan in college, use those opportunities. They help you. You don't even realize how they're helping you, but down the line they do come in handy.
Yeah. Similar lines. I think you're creating a funnel for yourself and shortlisting and eliminating possibilities and options. You are very often dragged into projects which are compulsory. My advice is raise your hand for projects which are not. That's where we really add your bandwidth in this side. And it helps you not now, but it also helps you later, because organizations now in this extreme competitive setup are very often making choices on promotion and so on and so forth for people not only who've done the job well, but who've done it set. It seems counterintuitive, right, at this point in time. Itna kaam hai abhi aur kaise? Yeah? But that's the reality. So the faster you get used to it, the better.
Yeah, I think I would say use these 2 years to have the best of your life, no matter what.
That's the best advice.
Yeah, that's 2 years.
Because those are the times you're honestly going to remember the most. You might not remember the assignment that you did best. In fact, you might remember the assignment that you did worst. But on a serious note, I think use this time to have use these 2 years to have the best of your time. Use these 2 years to make good networks as well. I think as you're doing your corporate career, it is very important how you are as a person, right? How do you build network? How are you able to influence and lead people? So use these 2 years to find your edge from a people perspective, and use these 2 years to find your edge from a functional perspective as well. And that's where I think the opportunity that a summer internship brings on the table becomes extremely relevant. I see for a lot of people in first year, they're absolutely clueless. They might want to jump into everything. But the moment you get your internship, if you're able to make the most out of it, use those 2 months to know what you really want to make out of in your second year. And that is something that will guide you for, so many years to come.
Alright. On that note, we will move on to the next segment, which is a fun segment, the rapid fire. So I'll just briefly explain how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
So since we are sitting in this order, Pragati ma'am, Nikhil sir, and Karan. So I'll be giving you all 2 words each, and the first thought that strikes you, or the first word that comes to your mind, is what you have to say. So for example, if I'm given the word cat, and if I find it cute, so I'll just immediately say cute. Okay, so
I think cat brings memories.
So yeah, should we start?
Yeah.
TAPMI,
Fun.
Nagpal,
Nostalgia.
MBA life,
Memories.
Perfetti,
Fun again.
Candy,
Oh, yummy.
inspiration.
Perfetti.
Okay, so this segment is called This or That. I'll share 2 words. You choose one out of what you think.
Yeah.
So, Nikhil sir, global mindset or local focus?
Global, local mindset.
Karan sir, innovation or tradition?
Innovation rooted in tradition.
Pragati ma'am, customer retention or customer acquisition?
Customer acquisition and then retaining all of them.
That brings us to the end of this segment. Thank you so much for joining us, taking time out for us. It was great knowing about your journey, your career paths. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.